Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to be talking about Legends of Tomorrow Season 5 and basically just reviewing the whole season, letting you guys know what I thought. So yeah, let's begin. So the first thing that I want to say is this is without a doubt probably my favorite season of the show so far. But not only that, I just think that this is the only DCTV show that I can continue to watch without feeling like the characterization of different people is just that of a child. Um, so I feel like I was fine back in high school watching these shows and not really thinking about it too much, but now I'm kind of like, if people are just being stupid, um, that doesn't really make sense, especially if it's just for plot convenience. So I really liked that this season, and in recent years, Legends of Tomorrow has really been the only show that I actually enjoy watching from the CW DCTV shows. And so that was kind of like compounded even more in this season. Like, this was just really, really good and just like a huge cut above the rest of the shows that are part of the CW, like DCTV shows. Um, so yeah, I mean the thing is, like, this entire season came out in the wake of Crisis, um, and so because the entire series takes place afterwards, it was kind of like perfect setup for how the story progresses from there. I believe the first episode takes place right after the, I guess, end of Arrow, as well as like the end of Crisis and stuff like that. So and just, I don't know. It's like every single episode, or not every single episode, but like it started with a bang with like the documentary-esque episode that was like just a completely different feel from pretty much anything else that they had done before and really any other show in this universe. So that's something that I really really loved, and I feel like this entire season, the show just kind of like it had a decent plot and a really good story progression, but not only that, it didn't take itself too seriously throughout the entire show. Like, it still had all its fun moments, and the show kind of shifted more from like a superhero show to more just like people traveling through time, which I feel like the show really hit its groove with that. And that just kind of makes sense to me. The superhero parts are there, like they have the big battle sequences and things like that, and some people do have powers, but overall, it's not really like people in tights and stuff like that. That always felt to me out of place for this show, especially with the time travel element. To have people kind of dressed up in grandiose costumes and things like that. So having this season, pretty much there really no costumes for the most part, it just kind of made sense to me. Um, so there are a couple different aspects of this series, or of this season, that I think really really made it good. So for one thing, um, I think it's, oh yeah, Ray. Forgot his name for a second. Brandon Ralph's character leaving the show, though I do really like Brandon Ralph as an actor. I just didn't really think his character really had enough development even after all of this time. He kind of became the person who was just kind of a straight arrow, like the straight man of the group, but honestly, that doesn't really exist in reality. So for me, it just felt kind of like a very basic character design, or character, I guess, characterization of the person. So without going into more detail, or like, we know his backstory and things like that, but he just seems like too, I'd say, optimistic. Like, he's like on the far end of the spectrum where there's really no one there in like the real world. So he kind of just takes you out of the show sometimes because of that, because of his like overt optimism. But overall, I do really like how they left, like how he ended up leaving the show, and he got his happy ending, which is very nice. Which is much better than like some of the other characters that have left the show have had their end. Um, for example, like, I didn't like how Jax left in the previous season. Um, and same thing with like how the Hawks, or like certain other characters, they just didn't have really good leaving moments for the show. Um, and they didn't really get like the door closed in a proper manner. So having like him get married to Nora, and having the two of them starting their life together was really, really cool to see. And especially because we got to see Damien Dark again as more of like, I don't know, I just really like him as more of like the goofy villain that he has been in Legends of Tomorrow, when compared to Arrow, just because, I mean, that season of Arrow had a lot of issues, mainly because of the introduction of magic to that show. But anyway, I don't know, bringing him back as well as an actor was really fun to see as well, and seeing him kind of interact with Roy, or not Roy, Ray, as well as Constantine, and pretty much all the other characters was always just fun to see. Um, Now, for the entire plot, pretty much driving forward, it's kind of like two parts for the show. From what I saw it as is like, Astra's just sending uh, basically souls back to Earth after they've already died, and the legends are pretty much going through history and trying to fix those situations. And then afterwards, Astra joins the team, and I really like what they did with Astra's arc. Not my favorite character, but I do think that by the end she was a much more likable and enjoyable character on screen. And her relationship with Constantine and everything was really, really cool. And also, like, just Constantine this entire season, like, I just love Constantine's character. I didn't love his, like, original show before he moved on to the CW, but every time he was on the CW, once he joined this universe, I like just the episodes with him. I really, really enjoyed, just because I love the character, and I think the actor does a really good job with it. So yeah, so Astra's whole thing, as well as like her relationship with Constantine, was super interesting. And I'm not sure if she's gonna be a legend next semester, not next semester, next season. They kind of left that open ended, so I'm not really sure about that. How I feel about that too, because I think that she's gonna be having like the way that they left it off is like she's kind of getting her happy ending. She's going to basically move into John's or Constantine's house, I guess, and just stay there and kind of figure out where to go from there. But whether or not she comes back to the show, don't know. With that, I also don't know if they need Constantine moving forward, just because his arc is kind of finished, right? They've basically redeemed his character. When we first met him in his own TV show, he was completely like he was already damned to hell. He had originally like this was after he had damned Astra's soul to hell and everything, so he was basically like a lost cause at that point. But he's kind of up to now. He's pretty much moved forward, and I mean it'll be interesting if he comes back if he needs to. But yeah, I mean, regardless, if he just leaves the show at this point, I think that he's had a really good run on the series, and it would be a good end to his character. Like, his biggest regret has now been solved. He was able to make amends with Astra and everything. So I do think that if he does leave, I wouldn't be too sad about that, but I would also be welcome to him continuing. Yeah, so the next thing is, I guess, Charlie's backstory. So even, I think it was last season, was the whole magic season, where like all the demons from hell were coming about and everything like that, or and stuff like that. So with Charlie being introduced, the one question that I had when she was first introduced was why there were no other shapeshifters, and then also like just where like what her backstory was a little bit more, things like that. And I really liked how this season went into that and actually made her like a lot like her backstory is so interesting now because she is actually one of the looms of fate, and how that entire thing weaved into the entire story was really cool to see play out. And because of like what she was a fate. It kind of made sense that her sisters were also able to be shapeshifters as well. Although I think we only ever saw one of her sisters ever shapeshift. But I mean, regardless, it was cool to see that that's kind of just like another characteristic of the fates, that they're also shapeshifters. Yeah. Okay. So the other thing is like with Rory's character this year, I thought it was kind of funny, especially at the beginning. Towards the last few episodes, it was fine because he was in it a little bit more, but especially like the crossover and a couple of the earlier episodes, he like walked in for one scene and then walked off, and I just remember like giggling or like laughing, being like, what is he doing? Um, and they would just have like him do like a one off or a couple lines and just walk off screen for whatever reason. And it felt kind of weird to me, but I do like what they did with him later on, especially like him the way that he ends up having a kid is ridiculous. With him travel, like they were back in time, back to one of his high school reunions, and he meets his ex-girlfriend. They hook up, and like years later, when they go back to the present, he just has a kid, that he finds out about, that he was basically never there for because he was in prison, in the main timeline and everything. So having him like kind of build that relationship and everything was really cool to see for his character. Though I do wish that there was either more of that or more of him just also doing other things and being more involved with the rest of the team. Like, this was a very good path for his character to go down. I just wish we either saw a little bit more of it earlier on, or that we saw him also be involved a little bit more in other things that were happening. Because at least for some points, it just felt like he was kind of off on his own for the most part, doing his own thing. So yeah, that's kind of how I felt about his character. But by the end, like, I really liked his dynamic with his kid, whose name I'm blanking on, but pretty much the last couple episodes where they had like a lot of scenes together was really cool, especially like in the episode with Dionysus. I really liked that one. And then like even like the last two episodes as well, or especially the last episode when they were reunited again, was really nice to see. What else? So, oh, another thing is like Zari being stuck, or Zari returning. So at the end of last season, Zari was erased from existence, or at least the one that we had known for, I think, a couple seasons at that point. I don't actually remember when she came in. I think it was maybe season 2, maybe season 3. Don't remember off the top of my head. But seeing her kind of fade from existence, and then her brother basically being alive, and he ended up actually becoming the one of the legends in the shifted timeline. So that was really cool, because I thought Bayrod was not going to be at all an interesting character, especially in the beginning. But I think within like the first 1 or 2 episodes, I really enjoyed him. I think by the second episode, I was like, yeah, he's a good character. He's not just going to be like a side character here until Zari comes back, which was what I was originally worried about. I'm very happy that like the writers took the time to actually flesh out his character a little bit more, and make him just a likable person on screen and things like that. And then his relationship with Zari from like, I guess, the new timeline after like things had changed, was interesting. Like Zari being reintroduced as an influencer was really, really funny. And then having her meet her other self as well was really cool, and the whole interactions and stuff there was really fun to see as well. What else is there to talk about? So Sarah's journey from the season, I mean, I think the main thing is that she got powers, she was blinded, things like that. And I think that was a very interesting route to go with her character, basically giving her the ability like to see the future of people she touches, and kind of using that as a way to outsmart some gods, to outsmart some people, to try and like figure out and save people's lives, things like that. Other members of the team, especially with like Gary's Hell Bunny or whatever, or Hell Dog, that he brought back from hell and things like that. So definitely a lot of shenanigans, a lot of goofiness with this entire series. Like the Hell Spawns, or the Hell Dogs that were brought back, and then like I think there was the bunny right after that. And then like just the whole thing with the encores, like Rasputin, Marie Antoinette, I think, was another one of them. I'm blanking on some of them. Bonnie and Clyde as well. A lot of cool moments throughout this entire season. All of the flashbacks through history, especially in the first half, were really well done, I think. The send-off for Ray again was really cool. And yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? I guess I'll talk about like the last two episodes a bit more because that was kind of that's kind of like the end of the show, end of the season. So the first episode was, or the first of the two is after the legends lose, and basically all of reality is rewritten, and we end up with Gary and Mona. And I really liked how those two kind of worked together and were kind of like their dynamic throughout the episode as well. Same thing with like the whole dystopian future where everyone's just all wearing the same outfit. Everyone just eats mush, like that's the only food available. And then the legends are kept alive as part of the television program, and they have no memory of everything. Like all of reality's been rewritten, and everyone's basically being controlled by the fates. And Charlie's kind of gone back to her sisters because she feels like there's nothing else she can do at that point. And the only way she was able to save the legends was by putting them on TV and making them kind of the escape for the rest of the world. Yeah, it was really, really fun episode, having their escape and everything like that. And just, yeah, I think it was just very well done. That whole episode, how they found out about stuff like Astra's thinking about actually just staying because her mother's alive in the television and things like that. A lot of cool elements. Both Zaris reappearing. When Charlie kind of splits them in half, I guess, or their strand of fate being split in half, and so that both of them exist. I thought that was pretty cool as well. So, yeah, lots of cool things going on with that episode, and then obviously their destruction of the. Oh, actually, next episode was the destruction of the loom at the beginning, and seeing how that kind of impacted the world, and then the history of bad ideas or history of villains, things like that. Really, really funny times, and then final battle with like just random terrible inventions like the shake weight and to name one, and I think like a pogo stick, I think that's what it's called, was another one, like just using those things as weapons. It was hilarious. Yeah, so I mean, basically, if you want to have fun with a TV show that has some magic, some powers, watch the show. It's great. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. Really, really enjoyed this whole season, and it's kind of getting me to think to like rewatch the whole show, say for maybe season one, and kind of see like just rewatch everything. I might actually end up doing that again. So yeah, if you guys have watched the show, or if you guys are thinking about watching it, definitely recommend it. But let me know what you guys thought about this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.